Hello and welcome to the third episode of me explaining all of the maps in Terraforming Mars. Today I will discuss all of the ins and outs of the second original expansion map, Hellas. We will go through this in 4 sections. First, I will explain the general layout of Hellas and its implications on the ground game on this map. Then I will go over the milestones and awards, and lastly I will combine all of this information and talk about the best corps on Hellas. So let's hop right in. Hellas holds by far, and I mean it, the least plants out of the 3 original maps. Its plant placement bonuses on land and ocean tiles combined add up to 27 in total, as much as Tharsis and Elysium have on land alone. This severely lowers your potential to use tile placements to collect plants for greenery conversions and therefore slows down ground game in the early to mid game by quite a bit. In exchange, Hellas has a few unique features. Firstly, and most obviously, the South Pole. This tile allows you to spend a few extra bucks to place an ocean. Paying 6 MC for an ocean is a really good deal, as the fair price of it is 14 MC, using Subterranean Reservoir as a benchmark. But there are a few things to consider. If you only have one tile placement available, you can get stuck in the southern region of the map, which isn't desirable for greenery conversions at all. Yes, placing tiles here directly works towards Polar Explorer, but sometimes going north is still preferable. Also regarding the South Pole, there are options to place tiles which are in and of themselves inefficient. For example, placing a city via a standard project. If you're doing that, you're giving up some of the discount you received for the ocean and put it into an overpriced city. Something else that immediately draws our attention is the massive ocean on the center right side of the map. Placing the oceans here later in the game, when some are already down, can be really beneficial, as you can collect 4 to 6 MC rebates consistently. At the same time, since oceans on Hellas are clustered up like this, ocean rebates are much harder to collect with land tiles, and there isn't a single 6 MC pocket on the entire map, which in turn also means that capital is not as great on this map. If you still want to go for ground game, ocean walking next to the oceans on the west side of the map or north of the large ocean on the east side of the map might be your best bet. Also, Mining Guild loves all the mineral placement bonuses on Hellas. And then one last thing to note about this map, it's the only one of the original 3 that offers heat as a placement bonus. This resource is obviously not as valuable as plants, but it can still help you get some early conversions in, or maybe even end the game faster, so it's definitely situationally useful. Let's go through the 5 milestones on Hellas: Diversifier, Tactician, Polar Explorer, Energizer, and Rim Settler. In my opinion, the milestones on Hellas are quite engine specific. Diversifier requires you to play a ton of cards, and non-event cards specifically. That's something mostly engine wants to do. When in the race for this milestone, you should always keep in mind the cards that can easily grant 2 or more unique and possibly rare tags. Ecozone, Beam from a Thorium Asteroid, Research Outpost, and so on. Your opponent can easily snatch the milestone from under your nose with a card like this. No base game corp is specifically great for Diversifier, but in the expansions, Nurgle Enterprises can easily win the race, and Eredor at least loves to go for it. Energizer is another milestone that favors engine. Power Prod is quite expensive, and the cards that let you get a lot of it for cheap are engine pieces: Mass Converter and Quantum Extractor. Especially the former needs to be kept in mind at all times when competing for this milestone, as it can grant the exact amount of prod needed in one move. Thorgate is undoubtedly the best corp for Energizer. Rim Settler is another engine milestone. While there might be 1 or maybe 2 Jovians that a Rush player can also justify playing, going for this milestone is too much of a commitment in any case. For engine players on the other hand, 3 Jovians can range from impossible to super easy. Why? Because Jovians are really rare, but 3 is also a small enough number that you can just get lucky with your corp, preludes, and opening hand and be able to claim this milestone in turn 1. This is why I think tag-based milestones that focus on more common tags are better. They can require a high amount of tags and are therefore less swingy. But back to Rim Settler. Obviously, Saturn Systems and Stormcraft are great on this milestone, but don't play Stormcraft. Also, any engine corp, specifically Point Luna and Vitor, also like to go for it. Tactician is kinda mixed. It can work out for rush players, as many green tags have min or max requirements, but engine players like to get those down too, and they have the whole slew of science requirement cards to play with as well. Inventrix is really strong when going for this milestone, as it allows you to play global requirement cards much more easily, and also holds a science tag which can help with getting down science payoffs. And lastly, Polar Explorer. As any ground game milestone or ward that doesn't specifically require cities, Polar Explorer favors rush and dedicated ground game players. Still, as I alluded to earlier, going for this milestone isn't necessarily a no-brainer. If you have limited free tile placements, getting stuck in the south, or at least losing access to the only few good ocean walk spots, and plant placement bonuses in the north can be devastating. Still, corps like Ecoline, Tharsis and Philarus are favorites for Polar Explorer. But let's jump over to the awards. Here we have Cultivator, Magnate, Space Baron, Eccentric and Contractor. If we're looking for themes here, we can once again see at least 3 awards clearly favoring engine, and also a few really swingy awards that sometimes incentivize quote-unquote stupid plays. What do I mean by that? Well, a milestone is swingy if it requires only a low number of something, so with the right amount of luck it can be achieved or flipped in a heartbeat. An award on the other hand is swingy if the thing it requires can be acquired in mass easily. On Hellas, especially Space Baron and Contractor can feel this way, as space and building tags are both super common and can be played for cheap with a high enough mineral production. These awards, as well as Magnate, also encourage counterintuitive plays, meaning playing a lot of useless, cheap cards in the late game just to swing the award. Obviously, if this leads to the player actually winning the award, and the game as a result, the play wasn't stupid, but many players like milestones and awards better that incentivize a playstyle which is productive on its own. Both of these factors together lead many players to believe that the awards and also the milestones on Hellas aren't as fun to play around as on other maps. But let's discuss the awards one by one. First of all, Cultivator. This one is the only one clearly favoring Rush. Sadly, it's also very similar to Landlord, as that award was also mostly won by the player that had the most greeneries at the end of the game. Ecoline, Philarus and Ecotech are clearly the best corps for this award. Next up, Magnate. Don't forget that this award only counts green cards. It differs from the Elysium Milestone Tycoon in that aspect. Obviously, engine strategies with continuous card draw and global discounts are best in a fight for this milestone. All of the best engine corps are great for Magnate, but none of them have a significant edge over each other. I talked about the swinginess of Space Baron. Another factor which dominates Space Baron races is the fact that the space tag is the one with by far the most discounts. If you get some of these downs, playing space tags is much easier, and you'll be highly favored on the award as a result. But again, it really is only viable to go for it as an engine player, and often requires a lot of card draw to contest. Point Luna, Phobolog and Culpa Cooperative are the best corps on this. Eccentric is definitely the milestone I like most on Hellas. It heavily promotes the green combo, which in my opinion is part of one of the most rewarding playstyles. But it also improves a diverse set of cards, many of which aren't that great or at least a bit niche in many other scenarios. The cards to keep in mind in relation to Eccentric are Ecozone, Tardigrades, Ants, Preds and Viral Enhancers, as well as the whole freaking floater combo set. Corps like Viren, Celestic and Arclight are great for this award. And lastly, Contractor. The award counterpart of Builder is again one that favors engine. Similar to Space Baron, you want to develop a lot of mineral prod and some continuous card draw. But other than CSM's corp effect, there are no building tag specific discounts. The best corps are obviously CSM and Mining Guild. While I see is great for Builder, its one-off instant steal bonus doesn't help that much for Contractor. It's still an okay choice for it though. But overall, what corps profit most from all of this? We learned that the ground game is bad on Hellas, as well as that the milestones and awards are pretty engine focused. So we're looking for a corp that isn't really ground game dependent and favors engine above all else. The first one that comes to mind is Saturn Systems. With its Jovian tech, you are already a third of the way to Rim Settler, and the Jovian tech is also one of the rarest ones, so you got that going for you for Diversifier. Also, Saturn Systems loves playing space techs for Space Baron, and many of the Jovian techs, especially in the base game, are green cards for Magnate. Another corp that really benefits from the engine focused on Hellas is Tycho Magnetics. This corp loves to go for engine with its built-in card draw and science tech. Also, it starts off with a power prod and incentivizes you to develop more of it, meaning it's a good choice for an energizer push. The card draw really helps in finding Jovian, space and building techs as well. And lastly, Mining Guild. Yes, this kinda goes against what I said earlier about looking for corps that are not depending on a good ground game. However, Mining Guild can really thrive on Hellas nonetheless. This corp loves to go for Polar Explorer. There are 3 mineral spots in the bottom 2 rows, as well as the South Pole, which basically acts like one as well. Also, Mining Guild isn't as fussed about losing access to the Ocean Walk spots by not placing anything up north early on, as this corp can make better use of all of the steel placement bonuses in the middle of the map. In addition to that, with a lot of steel, you can more easily play many of the power production cards like Power Plant and Geothermal Power, and Contractor is obviously a great award for this corp. But that's it, my 2 cents on the expansion map Hellas. What do you think of this classic map and which corps do you enjoy playing on it the most? Let me know in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please leave a like and consider subscribing. Also, if you want to watch me playing Terraforming Mars live, please check out my Twitch, which is linked in the description. Thanks guys, and see you in the next video.